Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For a down south education on Florida sports and athletics, it's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Palm Tree Sports. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, this is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Happy Saturday. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. Glad to have you back here at Palm Tree Sports Radio. And so, guys, I don't have any NFL news for you, of course. This early stage of the offseason, as I mentioned last week, we will continue to monitor as things start to unravel more and more. But I will say that obviously these three teams all have some work to do between the Bucks, the Miami Dolphins, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. They all have some work to do here in the offseason for improvements. Of course, for Jacksonville, it's going to be figuring out whether Trevor Lawrence is that guy or not, especially after last season's debacle. For Miami, it's going to be about how they're going to be able to sign more talent, and they have one of the top five least amount of cap spaces available for NFL football teams this year, even with the increase that the NFL is granting. And of course, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's going to be about getting their stars back. Their Baker Mayfields, their Mike Evans, Antoine Winfield Jr., Tristan Wirfs, Levante David, will he retire? So there are a lot of questions there. But obviously, like I said, as the offseason continues to roll around, we will uncover all of that. We will unpack it all together. And once we have more information, I will have that for you guys. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and continue to slide down the poll like we normally do, and let's go into some NBA action, guys. Let's get it popping there in the NBA. Let's talk about Miami first, yeah? So check it out. Miami and the Magic both still in the exact same position they were in last week, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Obviously, it's definitely an impressive thing right now to see two teams here on the East Coast just match each other game for game for what it's been seeming to be. Excuse my apologies. The only difference between these two teams is that Miami holds the tiebreaker between the Miami Magic lineup, that matchup that's been taking place a couple times earlier this year, with Miami owning the better record in head-to-head battles between the two. So Miami rocking a 31-25 record. They just came off of a win against the Pelicans. They're rocking a 34-23 record, so that's a good win for them. Score of the ball game was 106-95, so good job, Heat. Let's try to maintain that heat for all intents and purposes. Moving forward, the next game is going to be against the Kings. That's going to be Monday, February 26th at 10 p.m. Guys, get ready for that game. The Kings playing decent basketball at 32-23. So we're going to see if the Heat can put two wins back-to-back together as they continue this relatively good stretch that they've been experiencing over the last month. They're 4-1 in the last 5 games. And, you know, with a win, that'll move into 5-1 and, you know, feeling pretty good moving forward as such. Whereas the Magic are doing something similar. They are going to go visit the Detroit Pistons today at 8 p.m. Obviously, Detroit's rocking the worst record in the East. They're 8-47, so it should be a gimme game for the Magic. Magic matching the Heat record at 31-25, guys. Both of these teams respectively sitting at 7-8 in the Eastern Conference. At the back of that playoff location that, will get them in, but they'll have to play play-in games. So that's just something to consider for these Florida basketball teams. The next game for the Magic will be against the Hawks. That's going to be tomorrow at 7 p.m. Hawks rocking a 24-32 record. They're struggling without Ice Trae out there. That team doesn't have a whole lot going on besides that. I personally think Ice Trae should find himself to L.A., and join LeBron over there at the Lakers. I think that would be a massive move for him in his career, as well as for the Lakers, as far as picking up a young guard, somebody that they can use moving forward and be able to pair along decent lines of D'Lo and Austin Reeves. So that's just something to consider there. But yeah, that's what's going on there in the NBA, guys. Obviously, All-Star Weekend just wrapped up not too long ago. Highest scoring All-Star Weekend we've ever seen. And what a treat it was. Damian Lillard popped off. Congratulations, Dame, on repeating for 3-point contest. And, of course, having that 39-point ball game during the All-Star game. So that's what's been going on with the NBA. But the more exciting part about basketball right now would be college basketball, guys. We are, a week away, less than a week away from March Madness. It's going to be just, one hell of a year that I'm expecting as far as this basketball season is going to be concerned. When you look at the state of Florida, I think the two teams that people weren't expecting to be at the top of Florida athletics in terms of basketball are actually up there right now. So we're going to show some love to both of those teams. Let's start out with our Florida Gators, our 24th ranked Florida Gators, now officially ranked. It's about time. This squad's been playing relatively good basketball all year. Yeah, there's been a few slouches throughout the season, but for the most part, they've been able to remain true to themselves and improve in those areas such as transition defense and three-point shooting. So with the Gators rocking a 24 ranking right now, a number 24 ranking right now, their record is sitting at 19-8. One of the better records here in basketball at the moment, considering how many teams are actually fighting for spots here in the March Madness tournament. Excuse me, my apologies, guys. They were able to defeat Vanderbilt earlier today, 77-64. Vanderbilt by no means the best team in basketball. Of course, they're not playing very good basketball at all. Their athletics are kind of suffering at the moment. Vanderbilt rocking a 7-20 record right now. So, not necessarily the game to go out and prove yourself, but make no mistake about this team has already done that earlier in the season. Next game going to be a little bit more of the same. Missouri rocking an 8-19 record. Nothing special going on there from Missouri. That game is going to be Wednesday, February 28th, 6:30 p.m. Just in case you're wanting to see some of that Gator team basketball that they're playing. Of course, like I said, Missouri not expected to put up much of a fight, but you still got to play the games, right? We still got to play the games. It is what it is. And of course, the Gators are 4-1 in the last 5. There's a trend here. A lot of Florida teams here 4-1 in the last 5, which is something that you love to see, especially here in the Sunshine State as we get ready to unravel some more of that sunshine, right, guys? So Gators playing very, very well. The other team that we have to talk about as far as terms of success will be USF, and we'll save them for last. Hey everybody, real quick, I want to take a quick pause. Shout out to you guys there in the comments. Hey Dad, hey Adam, how's it going, guys? Dad, be careful getting home. The traffic is terrible. There's a full moon out there, etc., etc., etc. Adam, good to have you here, bro. Let's keep it moving though. Let's keep it moving. So back to the college basketball bit. The Noles, right? Okay, so Florida State, they're having an identity crisis at the moment, and I think that this is something that will have to solve itself moving forward because, unfortunately, Florida State, they're suffering kind of from a few things here. One, they're suffering from the fact that they can't recruit effectively in the state of Florida. Okay, so what does that mean? Florida State, Florida produces a lot of talent in college athletics, right? That's no mystery. Everybody knows that. But the issue is when you, Texas and California and Alabama and Georgia, when you are recruiting for a team in a state, you have to recruit against some of the other teams in the state. And when you think about basketball powerhouses in the state of Florida, some of the teams that would pop up aren't necessarily the Noles. You do think Miami, you do think Gators, okay? Miami's got a long history of making a lot of moves inside that Sweet 16. A lot of it's from back in the day, earlier in the day, of course. It's not a reference to the success of the teams in Florida, but Florida State just trending downwards in regards to recruiting in the state of Florida, and you can kind of see that happening, especially when you have the Canes, who they have a better record as well by the Noles. I mean, yeah, it's a game, it's a half a game, but I mean, it still matters. And actually, technically, it's a whole game because I think they played each other, and I think the Canes won that game. So, but you get what I'm saying. Really struggling to recruit in the state of Florida. Definitely struggling to bring in some of those athletes who will run the table for you. In basketball, you have the UConns, and you have the UNCs, and you have the Kentuckys, and the Kansas. You have those teams that consistently, right? They always have the best talent coming out, and that's just something that I really think that Florida State needs to get back on their horse, and they're going to have to get back to recruiting properly inside the state. And if they can't do that, they're going to continue to trend downwards. I mean, this year has not been a great year for them outside that one against Florida that they had. They really haven't done anything all season to be proud of. So that's just for reference to what I think is happening to the Noles. Again, this is the worst team out of the Power 5 teams here in Florida at the moment, and again, they don't seem to be trending anywhere near upwards. But let's just go ahead and drop it in the bucket. They visit Clemson later today at 7:45 p.m. That's a pretty good Clemson team that's playing college basketball at the moment. They're rocking an 18-8 record. They were ranked earlier. They lost a couple of games that kind of push them out of the rankings, but make no mistake about it, this team keeps winning. They'll be ranked again within a week or so. Don't be surprised about that if you do see them ranked again very soon. Now, that's the ACC matchup. I'm betting the Clemson's going to get that game. Clemson's playing far better team basketball than Florida State is, and they have been pretty much all season long. The couple of wins that Clemson experienced, some of them were just clumsy, not finishing games, and really they haven't been outplayed. So I look at Clemson and I say, yeah, this is a team that they have a much better and legitimate shot than Florida State does of running the table, especially in the ACC right now. So we'll have to see what happens, though, right? Because obviously Florida State could come out on fire tonight, win a game, and then spark and start just going crazy. That is possible. It's just not likely, all right? So the next game after the Clemson game, and here's the reason why it's not likely, is going to be NC State. So here's the deal. NC State rocking a 17-10 record, a very similar record to Clemson's, and also been playing very similar team basketball to Clemson. That game's going to come to you Tuesday, February 27th at 9 p.m. Again, this is an example of a team that's doing well recruiting in state, right? Obviously, now with NC State, they're struggling along with the other teams in surrounding areas when you're talking about recruiting as far as that southeastern area, right? But they still are able to acquire a lot of good talent, great coaching staff down there. So this is a team that I think will also take the win over the Noles, and that would regretfully put them at a 14-14 record at 500, and at that point their season is more or less going to be over, especially now that we're a few days away from March. So 2-3 in the last 5 isn't going to get it done. Florida State, guys, like I said, you guys are going to have to figure out, you're going to have to go behind the scenes and see what's going to have to be done to start recruiting more properly in the state of Florida. Until you guys can do that, you're going to be here, all right? You're going to be here every year until then, and that's what's going on there. Hey, Gen B, Ralph, good to see you guys. Taryn, thank you for joining, guys. I really appreciate it. We're in college football, or basketball, I should say, right now. Missing college football a whole lot, aren't we, guys? But yeah, Adam, Florida does produce a ton of college talent. I think that's one of the things that creates the power struggle in the state. It's different when you're at like a South Dakota or Nevada or something like that, where there's not a pool of talent adjacent to what you find here in the southern part of the U.S. And that's something that as you continue to watch more and more sports, you're like, dang, okay, this guy's from Texas. Jesus, everybody comes from Texas. This guy comes from South California. Everybody comes, from South California. That kind of vibe is what you feel, especially when you're watching pro-style sports and they give you that little moment where they're introducing the players, like in the NFL when they're like, let's go meet the defense. And then you hear these guys, and out of the 11 guys, 2 or 3 of them went to teams, in the SEC or in, the southern part of the western part of the United States, wherever they may be. Arizona, that's another state for producing talent right there that people just kind of sleep on a little bit. So, but yeah, Florida's going to continue to do it too. I think that's just something that we are blessed to have. We're going to produce oranges, we're going to produce athletic talent, and great weather. And by great weather, I just mean not cold weather. I like the cold weather, I do, but you guys get what I'm saying. Now the Canes. All right, guys. So the Canes were the team that we originally thought were going to be the best team coming out of the state of Florida as far as college basketball is speaking. We knew the Gators were going to give them a run for their money, but we didn't think the Gators would actually overtake that spot, or USF for that matter. And then from the Power 5 perspective, of course, we weren't expecting them to drop as hard as they did. So currently the Canes are a 15-12 record. They got a game ahead of Florida State. They will play Florida State again, I believe. So be ready for that game, guys, because that could very well be a battle of 2 500 teams. And if that is the case, man, that could make out for a really good game. And I say that because, well, check this out, guys. The Canes are losing to Georgia Tech right now. That's 11-16 Georgia Tech. They were losing 76-69 with 3 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock. Hey, guys, if anybody's watching that game, can you toss that score? It could be over by now, honestly. So if you could toss that score into the chat, I'd be sure to go ahead and say it over loud so everybody can hear it. But yeah, they were losing that game, and it was getting close, man. Crunch time. 3 minutes, 45 seconds. And, the lead was 7. So, we'll see what happens there with the Canes. The next game doesn't get any easier for them as they're going to go see UNC, as University of North Carolina, Monday, February 26th at 7 p.m. Guys, UNC ranked 10th, all right, 20-6 record, good ball club, good coaching. You guys know how the Tar Heels doing. I mean, they've been doing it this way since, the 80s, the early 80s. So, UNC playing really good basketball right now, and of course that's not going to be an easy game for the Canes. And then the Canes, in the midst of riding a 0-5 losing game streak. It's something that you don't really like to see, guys. Obviously, they're trending downwards. They're doing exactly what their college football team, their collegiate football team did, which is just absolutely lose control of the ship, and it looks like it's sinking. It looks like it's capsizing. It looks like the Arizona in World War II, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. It looks terrible right now for Miami, and South Florida is going to have to figure out what they need to do to become successful again. And when I say South Florida again, I mean Miami, because the University of South Florida, on the other hand, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, thank you, Jen. First and foremost, 80-76, Georgia Tech be your winner of that game, guys. So, again, they're capsizing in a very bad way. This could be one of those things where the way the season ends could mean that some people lose their jobs. And this is something I think we're going to have to pay close attention to as March Madness takes place, because Miami's not going to stick. They're not going to stick around. Like I said, when they play Florida State again, it could be a battle of two 500 teams. So that's going to be a scary thought process, especially, again, when Miami was ranked to start the season. Okay, so Canes got to get it together. You and the Knowles, y'all got some. There's a laboratory, and y'all are gonna have to get in it, right? Because the combination of chemicals you guys are using right now is not working. It is not getting the job done, guys. But you know where they are getting the job done? Here at USF, right down the street from where I work at the University of Florida. Those Bulls, you guys. All right. So here's the deal about USF. They started off a little shaky. Okay. Since then, it'd be 12 in a row that they won, yeah? So what that means is this team is on fire, okay? So the USF Bulls right now enjoying their best start in collegiate basketball history, right now rocking a 20-5 record. They're going to go see SMU tomorrow at 12 p.m. They should be able to get that game. SMU not exactly the best team in the league, and of course with USF sitting on top of their conference right now in first place, it's kind of a weird thing not to see them ranked right now. I mean, of course, this is no surprise. USF athletics has been on the rise for the last 20 to 25 years. I know they're a very young team, but hey, that shouldn't stop them from getting a national spotlight. Look at the record, all right? And yeah, I get it. They're not in the ACC. They're not in the Pac-10 or Big 12 or whatever. You know, they're not in the SEC. I get it. But you can't ignore that body of work. What a tremendous body of work that USF has been able to put together this year, and it's something, straight out of a storybook, right? Nobody's expecting this team to be as successful as they are, so congratulations to USF. We haven't been giving you guys enough love, so here we're gonna go ahead and slide that to you guys. Next game for USF is gonna be Charlotte. That's gonna be Saturday, March 2nd, 4 p.m. Get ready for that ball game, guys. If you want to check out some USF basketball, see how those guys are playing down there in Central South Florida. Perfect shot for you to do that if you miss the game tomorrow against SMU. And then again, like I said, 12 in a row. I mean, it's one of the best win streaks you've seen recently coming out of Florida, to be exactly honest with you. I don't think that the Gators, the Knowles, or the Gaines have been able to win 12 in a row in quite a while. So this is one of those things where we're just going to keep our telescope pointed south, and we're going to watch this team play, continue to play tremendous basketball, and hopefully they just, they might find themselves right into that big dance, and that's what we're hoping for. What a storybook that would be. I can only imagine what it would be like for our city to play in March Madness. I mean, of course, Tampa's already been a bit rowdy, so for reference, they call Tampa Bay Title Town, at least from a Florida perspective. You know how all the different cities in a state might have like nicknames, like you have New York as the Big Apple, and things like that. Well, with Tampa Bay, they've called it Champa Bay. They've called it Title Town because of the Lightning, of course. That's really who actually put that Title Town, correlation together there. So it would be really nice to see USF, even if they can't add it, but just go deep into that dance, and see exactly where they stack up and where they have the potential to be, especially moving on next year, because the squad's only going to get better over time, guys. USF might be the FAU if they play their cards right in the NCAA. Yeah, that's exactly what we're thinking, and I think that they can do it. The problem is, and the reason why they're not ranked is because of the teams that they've played, right? There's not a lot of proof on their record, but again, 12 in a row is still 12 in a row. And if this was college football, people would be losing their minds. Oh my God, we won 12 in a row, undefeated season, or whatever the case may be, whether it's proven or unproven. I personally think that obviously they're going to need to play some good teams and see exactly how strong their team basketball is before they find themselves into the big dance, but I think they could absolutely do it. Yeah, I agree with that 100%, and I would love to see it again. And then, of course, our Gators are going to roll into that dance as well. As long as they continue to do what they're doing, they'll be fine, they'll be successful, and that's something you love to see down here for the blue and orange. Anyway, guys, that's what's going on there in college basketball. Let's go ahead and get into our first break of the evening. And then when we get back, we'll touch on what's going on in NHL. And then we'll wrap things up about what to expect tonight on Fight Night for UFC fight card in Mexico. All right, so thank you for having it locked here at Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Keep it locked here. We'll be back in 65 seconds, guys.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kiernan Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, Daily, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we are back at Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, as always, is brought to you and powered by the aforementioned IE Sports Radio, your direct feed and the only direct feed you have for all that is sports, guys. The NHL this year is a bit interesting for the Bolts. We're not performing at the level we performed in the last few years. It's something that you kind of pay attention to, especially in your city. Whenever the Bolts make the playoffs, whenever they're finding the success that we've had the last few years, you kind of see all the Bolt stuff come out, like all the banners and the floor decorations, even the lights during Christmas time, guys. Everything really comes out. We do a lot of celebratory stuff for our teams. So if you guys remember when Tampa Bay won their Super Bowl a few years back, we had a boat parade. I think that was the first boat parade for a Super Bowl. Revolutionary stuff. You know what I'm saying? Host a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl, boat parade your Super Bowl. You got to do it a little different, you know what I mean? And that's something that we've kind of experienced here with the Bolts and their recent success over these last few years, and that's something we hope to continue to experience. However, this year is becoming a little bit more of a challenge than in recent years. The Bolts rocking a 31-23-5 record at this time in the season is not uncommon. It's just also could be better. And if you're having that feeling as a Bolts fan, it's not from the standpoint of being spoiled. I think it's from the standpoint of just knowing how hard this team has fought, not just this year, but in recent years, to consistently stay atop the world of hockey. And it's not an easy thing to do, right? This is a very competitive sport that, if I remember correctly, doesn't even originate here. So it's just something that is, it's a needle mover, right? Like it's one of those things where, especially when you're hot, there's a lot of love. There's a lot of success. There's a lot of that, the green for good stuff, okay? Right now, the Bolts are continuing that trend, but they're going to need a little bit of help here on the second half of the season. Again, they're sitting at 5th right now in the conference, and that's nowhere near terrible, right, to be at. It's just not necessarily where you want to be if you're the Bolts, right? You're a tired team, an older team, and an injured team for that matter. All right, so the boys are going to definitely have to play very well in the second half of this year and really bring it together down the stretch if they're going to find success in the postseason. Currently, the other team in Florida is rocking a better record, and they're just playing better hockey, may I add, for that matter. And they have the go-ahead record as well against the Bolts. But obviously, before I talk about the Panthers, let's go ahead and get into what's going on with Tampa Bay. So the Bolts, they were able to beat the Islanders in a 4-2 puck game. Now, the Islanders, by no team, that team is just like, by no means is the best team in hockey. They're struggling to keep their 500 rating, stay above 500, I should say. But they're rocking a 23-20-14 record. That's a lot of OT, guys. But hey, it is what it is. The Islanders have always been a threat, though. It's been a team that historically the Bolts have run into at times and been put down by at times as well. So that's something that you don't ever want to ignore, but it's always good to beat that team and double up on the score. The next game is going to be against the Devils. It's going to be a slightly harder game. Devils rocking a 29-24-4 record. That game's going to be tomorrow at 1 p.m. just in case you're going to want to check out some Bolts hockey or some Devils hockey. Hey, I mean, whichever kind of fits what your plan is tomorrow around lunchtime. That's what to expect there. And the Bolts are 2-3 in the last 5, so they're definitely going to need these 2 wins to crawl back above that 500 in that win-loss column for recent games. I like to look at recent games because, guys, I think there's a lot of proof in the pudding. I think breadcrumbs and Hansel and Gretel are a tall tale sign, patterns, if you will. All of those things kind of play into the effect of success that teams have in sports. Okay? I'll give you an example. If you guys remember when the Patriots went 18-0 in the regular season, or 16-0 in the regular season, and through the playoffs they were 21-1, I think it was, or whatever the record was. I have a hard time remembering exactly what it was. But when the Patriots did that, it was like at week 8, I would say, you start looking at it, you're like, okay, what's this team doing, guys? Are they about to go undefeated? Like, nobody's saying that at week 5. You know what I'm saying? It's when you reach that half-point mark and you realize we have the best quarterback in the NFL. We have perhaps the best receiver in the NFL. And it's working. It's like that, right? So that analogy is an analogy to success and the patterns that you see of it, right? Because we saw what the Patriots are doing that year. They were just outscoring everybody. The connection of Tom Brady and Randy Moss was record-setting. Okay, so that's one of those things, and that's why we pay attention to those patterns. That's why we pay attention to the recent games. If this recent games bit is any indicator for the Bolts, we're not making any type of long run into the playoffs. Make no mistake about it. I love my team, and it's a tremendous hockey team. But they're not going to find success playing hockey the way they have over the last 2 weeks. They're just not. Okay, it couldn't happen that way. Okay, it was a really, really, really heartbreaking event. You know, losing last year, and it looks like this team is struggling to even make it to that point that they were last year. So, you know, again, like I said, I get it. They're getting older, not as healthy as we once were, but this isn't it for success, guys. This is not the pattern that we need for success. On the other hand, the Panthers, they have that doctrine down, and they have it down like they're, you know, the United States Navy in World War II after Pearl Harbor. Another Pearl Harbor reference, just because you can kind of feel it there. So the Panthers, they're going to play the Capitals today at 6 p.m. Fully expecting to win this game. The Panthers are rocking a 37-16-4 record, one of the best records in all of hockey at the moment, may I add. And then the Capitals are rocking a 26-21-8 record. The reason why I had to come down on the Bolts is so I could come up with the Panthers, and this Panthers team has won 5 in a row. All right, they're kicking ass, guys. They're playing tremendous hockey, tremendous team hockey. A lot of great defense, first and foremost. Of course, that's something that you expect down here, is what the two teams here in Florida do have to offer in terms of success, or the way they've been able to find success playing hockey. Tremendous team hockey, like I said, great defense. They've been able to score on power plays. Transition is also very nice. They're just winning a lot of off-the-puck battles as well, which really helps set the team up for success. Think about the puck like in basketball, right? You have people who, in the NBA, they get their hands on the basketball and they're scoring machine, but they can't win a game, okay? It's because off-the-ball mentality. The off-the-ball mentality for some of these teams can be lazy. Some of these teams don't play defense. Some of these teams just, they get the Kobe in them, right? They don't want to pass the ball. It's them or nothing. And we experience that in hockey as well, too. So with hockey and the amount of teamwork that goes into hockey, you can kind of see where those teams are playing tremendous team hockey versus just having a bunch of great individuals on the team, right? So the Panthers are doing their great team hockey thing. And of course, they're seeing the success that you get from that, right? Again, 37-16-4 record, one of the best records in the entire NHL at the moment. This team, like I said, on fire. So I fully expect them to win this game against the Capitals later today at 6 p.m. And I'll say later today. It's actually on now. I'm sorry, guys. It's literally 6:31. But the game is on right now, so if you want to check it out, if anybody wants to throw the score of that game into the chat, I'll go ahead and mention that as well. But yeah, again, I fully expect the Panthers to win this game, and I fully expect to win the next game. It's going to be against the Sabres. That's going to be Tuesday, February 27th at 7 p.m. So here's the deal, guys. The Panthers are on their way to 40 wins. And they couldn't have looked better. I really like what this team is doing. I just hope that they can stay healthy down the stretch, because this is where they start to run into their struggles as well. Both the Bolts and the Panthers run into similar struggles in the second half of the season. I think that a lot of teams do. We see it again happen in all different kind of sports. if you watch the NFL this past season, we saw injuries just start to take their tolls on certain teams that we thought were going to be successful, and they just fell apart, like the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, look what happened to Trevor Lawrence. He was never the same after his first injury, and there's a lot that goes into that concept of thinking, hey, is he the guy for the job? You know? It just sucks that he was playing so well before the injury, right? So there's something else that we experience in all of our different facets of sports, and hopefully that the Panthers can stay healthy as they get ready to make this second half push right into the playoffs, because they're going to be there, and I think they're going to go far. I think they will go far. Of the two teams, I fully expect the Panthers to go further as long as they can stay healthy. Of course, the Bolts are going to have to get healthy, remain healthy, and also get back to playing successful team hockey if they're going to want to make it their case in the playoffs, of course. Like I said, the recipe that they have right now is not it. Again, if anybody has the score of that Panthers-Capitals game, I'll go ahead and put it into the chat. But, until then, we'll talk about it again next week for sure. Same time, same place. So let's go ahead and wrap things up with the last bit that I have for you guys here at Palm Tree Sport. Would you guys look at the time, man? It's such a short show today. I feel like we're missing a lot when we don't have pro football, and baseball is still around the corner, of course. Got to see some of our boys down there at University of Florida hit some jacks, for springtime baseball. But aside from that, again, just missing those sports, guys. Missing those sports. Ready for football to come back on with the, the USFL, I think it is, guys. Can't wait for that to come back on. Definitely want to see what happens here in year 2 for that, especially after the merger took place. So, but when that gets here, we'll talk about that. Until then, like I said, no football. We're going to cry about it. I'm going to cry about it. I love football. I miss it to pieces, guys, and I'm sure you guys do, too. So 0-0 first period. Jenby, thank you so much for that update. Like I said, Panthers should get this one against the Capitals, but we will see what happens. Of course, the Capitals could come out on fire. The team's not a bad team. They're just not the best team. So something else to take into consideration. Guys, tonight, if you are wanting to watch something that's not your typical pro sports or collegiate sports, I would recommend that you will check out tonight's Fight Night, guys. We actually have a very decent Fight Night coming up for the MMA event tonight. It's going to be UFC Mexico, so it's UFC Fight Night Mexico. And for those of you who do not know, the Fight Nights, and the differential between the Fight Nights and the pay-per-views are that the Fight Nights are used to kind of showcase a little bit more of what the diversification of MMA offers versus boxing or just kickboxing or collegiate wrestling or whatever have you, because I watch all of it, okay? I'm a huge fan of collegiate wrestling. A lot of people in collegiate wrestling go on to be pro wrestlers or go into mixed martial arts. So it's something that you like to see, something you like to pay attention to. And what tonight's event is no different. We're going to have some great fights on the card for you this evening as we get closer to the road of UFC 300. If you guys have not seen some of the updates for the fights that are going to be taking place at 299 and 300, 299 will be featuring Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera Part 2. Marlon Vera is the only one to hold a professional win over Sugar Sean O'Malley. However, that win is tainted. In my personal opinion, I don't think it should have been considered a win due to the injury that Sugar Sean sustained early in the fight. Sugar clearly was still conscious and in good shape at the end of that fight, and it's just one of the things you look at and you say, what would have happened if Sugar Sean didn't get injured? Well, he's the champ now, and we're going to get to see him avenge that loss, and if he's able to do that, that would slide him into the upper echelon of talent as somebody who we should consider to be not just a great fighter, but perhaps one of the very best in the world. So that's the main event there. The co-main event is going to be Dustin Poirier versus Bennett St. Law. That's going to be a great fight. Going to be a lot of striking. Expect these two to stand up. Dustin Poirier is absolutely one of my favorite fighters in all of history. So if you guys have not seen him fight, now is going to be a great time to see him fight. Of course, the last time we saw him fight was head kick knockout versus Justin Gaethje. He was knocked out, actually. Justin Gaethje was the one that knocked him out. Justin Gaethje is a dangerous, dangerous man. Perhaps one of the most dangerous men on the planet at the moment. And currently the man holding the BMF title, which will be on the line at UFC 300. So if you haven't heard for the UFC 300 card, that's going to be Jamal Hill, Sweet Dreams Hill, challenging Alex Pineda for the 205 title. What a tremendous fight this is. Man, that fight gives me chills. I can't wait to watch it. I personally think it's going to be a great fight. I don't really know who to pick. I think I would want to slide with Jamal Hill just because Jamal is a very talented striker. I think he has the ability, if he can read Alex and stay out of the range of that left hook, if he'll be able to find Alex's chin because Alex holds his chin so high. So that's something else to take into consideration. Of course, he's going to have plenty of tape to look at from Israel Adesanya on how to beat Alex Pineda. So that's going to be a tremendous fight at 205. I personally can't wait for that fight. The co-main event is going to be for the women's strawweight title between Yan and Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili, a two-time champion there at strawweight, one of the greatest women mixed martial artists on the planet and to ever do it at this point. I fully expect her to take home the second round knockout or decision victory. She's like a computer, so once she has you downloaded, that's it. And then, of course, Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway for the BMF title. What a tremendous fight that is. Two of the most dangerous men on the planet, two of the best strikers also on the planet. So I really look forward to seeing how that fight goes down. I want to pick Max, but I love Justin as well. I like both of these fighters a whole lot, but Max sits near and dear to my heart. So Blessed Express on the way for another win. And another quote-unquote title, even though it's an unrecognized title. That would be pretty cool. The UFC 299 also features for those of you who are familiar with MMA, not just the UFC, Michael Venom Page will be making his UFC debut. Long awaited, may I add. I mean, this guy should have been in the UFC maybe a decade ago. And he's going to be fighting Kevin Holland in his opening fight. This fight will most likely be the most entertaining fight of the evening at UFC 299. So I urge you guys, if you have not seen either of these two brothers fight, go watch this one. You will get your money's worth. I'm almost personally guarantee it. Off of their personalities alone, it will be worth it for you. Bring everything back till tonight here at UFC Fight Night. It's going to be Moreno versus Royval. Now, notice I didn't give you the first names because guess what? Both of their first names are, you guessed it, Brandon. So Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval. Brandon Moreno, one of my favorite fighters all time as well. What a tremendous guy this. Former two-time 25 champion, strawweight champion for UFC. I think that's 25. Absolutely juggernaut of a young man. The kid, chin made of steel. Well-rounded fighter. Very, very fast. Very slick. They call him the Assassin Baby because, well, he's baby-faced it, but he'll take you out, okay? He's going to be facing again Brandon Royval. Brandon Moreno got it in the first time these two hooked it up. I think that Brandon Moreno will also get it again. Brandon Royval coming off of a title chance opportunity loss, and I think when that happens, it's going to be really hard against a top-level talent of Brandon Moreno to get past that loss that he experienced for the title. And I think that Brandon Moreno gets it done. I think both these two guys are legitimate UFC powerhouses as far as their weight class is concerned. This would be my weight class. If I was in martial arts at the moment or back in martial arts at the moment, I'd be fighting at 25. So I personally can't wait to see this fight. It's going to be a great fight. Both of these guys super talented. Two of the most talented guys on the roster for sure. And we'll see what happens there. The secondary fight is damn near just as good. We've got Yair Rodriguez, the striking virtuosa at 45 versus Brian Ortega, who is the BJJ virtuosa of 45, guys. Both of these guys, tremendous fighters. Both of these guys, they fought Alexander Volkanovski, who just lost the title. If you guys didn't watch that fight, don't watch it. It's heartbreaking. Congratulations to Ilia Topuria, but I have to admit, I wanted to cry. It was terrible. I didn't, but I wanted to. But congratulations to Ilia Topuria for his second round knockout victory over Alexander the Great, ending his undefeated streak there at 45 and taking the belt away. Again, both of these guys fought Alexander Prime. Alexander, all right? So this is something that could be very interesting moving forward because I think both of these guys present different threats to Ilia Topuria and his title, and I think that both of these guys are capable of taking that title from him because of how good they are in their respected skill. But again, Yair Rodriguez, the decorated virtuosa of kickboxing there at 45, and then Brian Ortega, again, the BJJ specialist there. Guys, this is going to be a really fun card to check out. Like I said, it's a fight night, so you can check it out on the ESPN app. I think that, if you haven't been watching any mixed martial arts, this would be a great card for you to check out. And we'll go from there, especially as 299 and 300 are around the corner, guys. But that's what's going on there in the world of sports, coming out of the state of Florida, and of course, what's going on for MMA coming up soon. That's all that I have for you. Again, much shorter show than normal, and I do apologize for that, guys. But again, with less sports to talk about, there's kind of less to talk about. So thank you for having it locked here at Palm Tree Sports, though. My name is Corey Pools. I've been your host, and as always, this is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, guys. A few words of wisdom. Spend time with your family. I know I will be. I can't wait. Been with my son all weekend, and personally, there's no better feeling in the world. For those of you who have children, I'm sure you know exactly what I mean. We're going to go ahead and chop it up. Watch the rest of this UFC event that should be starting very, very soon. I think it starts at 7. So we're going to be checking that out, guys. And then after that, we're going to move on to tomorrow, where we have a couple of games to check out. Bolts hockey, like I said. And then as we get ready to move into this next week and slide into the month of March. Thank you guys so much for having it locked here. It's been my pleasure to talk to you guys about what's going on here in the Sunshine State with our sports and our teams, guys. I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say next week as we get closer and closer and closer to the baseball season starting, which is something I know we can't wait for. Shout out to our Rays. And, again, as we get closer to that, I'll have more information for you guys. Thank you, everybody. I can't wait to talk to you guys same time, same place next week. And for those of you who have shows, I look forward to hearing your shows as they come on throughout the week as well. Again, my name has been Corey Pools, your host for Palm Tree Sports Radio, brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you same time, same place next week, guys. Peace and love.